Good evening. It's Vijay here. Today is Sunday, 3rd of August 2025. Welcome to our weekend reflections, where we take up an issue over the weekend and look at what can happen to the markets over the short term, which is over a week or maybe even a little bit longer. So last week was one of those horrendous weeks where there were sudden fluctuations because of Mr. Trump, and we closed the week negatively. Now this has been the fifth negative week we have seen. Now here we come to the question. So what is next? And then I have gone through chart patterns. I strongly believe in chart patterns. Though the title of today's topic is "Do chart patterns really work?" I strongly believe that they work because this has been my experience over a period of 35 years. I've been charting since say 95, so it's about 30 years, you could say. So, if you simply look at the chart pattern, here is a cartoon which says, "Is this a piece of artwork or a chart of current market trends?" So, just the chart alone will not give you information, but we can correlate with what has happened in the past when a particular pattern has been formed. For instance, we have seen that this last 5 weeks, the markets have been down for continuously. So out of five, it has been down. So this is where we are in 2025. Continuously, we have been down. So I mentioned this about last week that even last week, after the fourth week, it was still in the green candle of the what we saw in June. But now that has gone down. It has now come back to what I would call a strong support here. Now, two, three things are happening here. One is, the worst of the news seems to have been over as far as tariffs are concerned. However, global markets have started falling and they fell badly on Friday. The second point is that the markets are highly oversold. And if you look at any of the indicators, they're all in oversold territory. The third is the sentiment is very poor, and therefore the following week, that is week beginning tomorrow, there's a lot of apprehension as to where this market will go. Most people think one should be selling. One people are scared, and they may start selling next week beginning Monday. So let us see what has happened in the past. Have we had any time 5 weeks, 5 consecutive weeks down, and what has happened subsequent to that? So now let's go back to 2022. In 2022, the markets were, on a bearish trend till around April because you had the Ukraine war which had started, and also the Fed had started raising interest rates, and we also had raised interest rates without, in between meetings. Plus, the inflation globally was high. So we had 5 consecutive weeks here. Though this is a green candle, it was still lower than the previous week. So 5 consecutive down weeks. I became bullish here around May 12th of 2022, and for about 3 weeks the market went up. Then again it came down and made a new low, and then it took off. Subsequent to what happened in June, for instance, in June it made a new low, whereas Bank Nifty did not make. This is the weekly chart of Nifty, and then that was at 15,800 and 15,000. This was around 15,800. Then it went as low as 15,200, and then it subsequently went up. But just observe, after 5 weeks, there was a significant rally close to about 1,000 points. This was in 2022 April May. Now let's go back to 2020, which was the most horrible 6 weeks, actually more than 5 weeks. This was the 6 weeks leading into COVID. We all know what a bad time it was. For 6 weeks, the market fell down, and even though it bounced back on the sixth week from the lows, it was still closing below the fifth week. But subsequently, if you have bought anywhere in the sixth week, you had only gone up. So these lows of 7,500 on the Nifty in the sixth week didn't have never ever come back again. So if you go back to what happened in 2022, it came back, but even if you bought at 15.8 and held on, and you got all the way up to 24,000, 18,600, and then it went to 26,400 in 2024. So buying in the sixth week would have helped even in 2022. and in 2020. Now let's go back further. 2018 was a time when the ILFS scandal broke out, and for 5 consecutive weeks the market fell. The market was in a very bearish trend as far as as far as the broader market was concerned. And with this ILFS problem, the market simply fell. Even though the GDP numbers were good at the beginning of the first week of the fall, but 5 weeks it fell, and there was all round loss of confidence. But even if you had bought there on the sixth week, you would have had to suffer for about 2 weeks, and then the market took off, and it never came back to those levels as far as the Nifty was concerned. Though the broader market was in a bear market, that market bottomed out only in March 2020. So here there's a clear differentiation. If you have bought big stocks in 2018, on the sixth week, you generally have prospered. But if you have bought a mid cap or a small cap, it depended entirely on the fundamentals of that stock. So that is the sixth week phenomena in 2018. Then let's go back to 2013 when we were called the fragile five, and the rupee was crashing. It fell about 27% within a few months, and therefore you had three such sets of 5 week crashes. So this was one 5 week which fell from say March to in March, then one more went in May, and then one more went in August. So this the final fifth week fall. After sixth week, it bounced back and then it took off. That is, the Governor Rajan was appointed, and the worst of the crisis ended here. But there was a huge crisis as far as the rupee was concerned, and there was no confidence in the government, and people were running helter skelter. Even the RBI governor did not have a proper clue. So in 2013 was the worst time, where we had 3 5 weeks, 2 5 weeks, and one 6 weeks fall, and then finally it bottomed out. So that was, I think, very, very unique, which we have not seen. Even in 2020, it was very quick, and even though it was 6 weeks, but it bounced back. Here, it was a grinding market. Though it fell 5 weeks, it went up on the sixth week, and then again it fell. And then once again it fell in the 5 weeks, then it took off for about 3 4 weeks, and then it again fell for 6 weeks. So you had a chance. If you bought on the sixth week, you could have still made money even in 2013. Then go back to the last one. I have taken data from 2008 9. I don't remember any other data before that. So I've taken just for the reference 2008 9. So 2008 9, we had an all time high in January. Then the market fell. It did not fall for 5 weeks in a row. There was a lot of volatility. And then somewhere in mid of 2008, it fell for 7 weeks, not 6, but 7 weeks. And if you had bought in the sixth week, you still got a chance to make some money here. So this was, even if you bought here sixth week, you would have got a good rally in the seventh week onwards. Then after that, again it fell in mid November, mid September, after the Lehman crash. For 5 consecutive weeks it fell. It actually made a bottom on the fifth week. So if you bought anywhere on the sixth week, you did not make much money immediately. You made something. It is not that you didn't make, but the bottom was not revisited at all. In fact, it came to a double bottom in March 2009. That's about 6 months, but it went off. It took off. Those bottom which we saw 2,250 or something in October end, just before Deepavali, were not seen even in 2009 March. It came down to as low as 2,500. Sorry. So you have had 2008 9, then you had 2013, then you had 2018, and then you had 2020, 2022, and then now 2025. So come back 2022, 5 weeks, 2020, 6 weeks, then you have 2018, 5 weeks, 2013, we have 5 and 6 weeks. 2008 9, we have had 7 weeks and 5 weeks. So these are the patterns which we have noticed. So if you buy in the sixth week, by and large, you are able to get a very, very good rate. So Monday is the sixth week beginning. So whatever you do, what are we doing? And so before we go about what are we doing, we should know forewarned is forearmed. To be prepared itself is victory. So you want to make money in the market, you should be away from the crowd, not just being away from the crowd as much as have data. Data has shown in all the instances in the past, If you have bought on the sixth week, even though market has fallen in the seventh week in couple of times, you have got a very good rate if you're looking for a long term. For very short term, also, one has made money by buying in the sixth week. But by and large, you have made money in the medium to long term if you have bought. So, what we are doing is clear. We intend to buy into the decline if it happens tomorrow, and then, sit down patiently and then look for what happened in history. I think it will repeat. Exactly, it will not. It may happen 7 weeks. But by and large, I think we are safe to buy in the sixth week when it is falling. So, whatever you do, I hope it is successful. So, have a nice weekend. Thank you for joining me.